My name is Ivan. I work in the indexing team with Will, and recently we started experimenting with indexing not just Filecoin content, but also the content from the IPFS. And I would like to demonstrate to you, hopefully, an easy way to do that. So I will show you a couple of slides, and then we'll do like a super quick demo of how to quickly set up IPFS indexing on your local machine. So after these few presentations, you're already probably familiar with what Reframe is. So it's a high-level protocol designed to be able to delegate routing from IPFS node to other systems. It's simple, request response, it's extensible, and it's transport agnostic. So what can we do with it? So in the indexing context, so by utilizing Reframe, Kubo nodes, they can advertise their CADs to other external systems instead of alongside the DHT. So you can configure multiple routers to work alongside each other, so you don't have to choose between either DHT or indexing or some other system. You can use publish to all of them. As of version 0.16, Kubo natively supports Reframe, and you can configure multiple routers to work seamlessly alongside each other. And Reframe can already be used in your application by using Go delegated routing library. So how do we use Reframe to integrate IPFS with indexing? So Kubo node, the way it advertises its contents, it publishes the snapshot of all of its CADs into the configured routers every X hours. So X is 12 by default. We have a small sidecar process, which is called index provider, and you can run this index provider alongside your Kubo node, and index provider can receive snapshots from Kubo, can chunk them up, and can translate them into the index advertisements that are understood by the indexes. And again, so just to reiterate, so you don't have to choose between either DHT or like Reframe routing or some, you can use both of them in the same time by utilizing so-called parallel helper, which I'm going to show you in a minute. This just illustrates how all things work in a couple. So on the left-hand side, you have the Kubo node, the IPFS node that is publishing the CAD snapshots every 12 hours to the index provider that is running on the same box. So, and then index provider can translate those CAD snapshots into index advertisements and advertise them to configured indexes, which are, for example, cad.contact. So you can, if you put this URL into your browser, you can see like a simple UI for finding indexed content. Okay. This, if you would like to follow along, so you please do that. So if you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to that GitHub repo. There is a script there of what you need to, or you can run on your local computer to get things working. But I also be going executing against the script and explaining what I'm doing. So please, if you would like to follow along, just scan this QR code, and hopefully it's going to take you to the page. Okay, so this is the, let me make it a bit bigger. So, obviously, this is the page that QR code takes you to. It assumes that you've got Go set up on your environment. So let's start with setting up the local indexer. So internet connection is not very good here, so I'm not that brave to try to publish to online indexes, so I'm probably going to be using the local one. So I'm going to, so I already have it installed, so I'm not going to be installed again. So instead, I'll just go straight to initializing it. So let me make it bigger. Okay. Okay, so store the index is indexer developed by the team I'm working in. So I'm going to initialize it. So that's going to generate the default configuration by just pasting this command. So basically, generated a key pair, generated the default config. So we don't need to change anything. We can just like start it and just let it run. So that's what I'm going to do. So here you go. So in the top left window, we've got now indexer running. It's exactly the same indexer as if you go to seed.contact, and that's exactly the same process. So next, I'm going to start the Kubo node. So I already have Kubo installed, so it's important to, if you would like to practice, experiment with delegated routing, you have to have it version 16 installed. So after that, it started supporting the configurable routers. So I'm going to just generate default configuration. So done. So next thing that I need to do is configure routing. And so there are a few things happening here. So let me show you. So we need to add a special configuration into the nodes config, the routing configuration block. So routing supports multiple different methods, such as find peers, to look at peers on the network, find providers, IPNS, provide, and etc. So what we're interested particularly in the provide method. So provide method is the one that is used when snapshot get published. And what I've done here, so I've set up the parallel helper to be used when provide method is called. So what is parallel helper? So if you see, parallel helper is defined as two routers. So I'm going to use a router called seed contact and router called 1DHT in the same time. So, and here you can see that seed contact is my local indexer. So it's genuinely, so if you would like to use, for example, seed.contact instead of my local indexer, you just change the endpoint, and that's about it. So no other things need to be done. And 1DHT is the DHT client. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this configuration block to my IPFS config. So just copy it, paste it, enter. OK, done. So one more thing that needs to be captured before we start IPFS node. So I need to take a note of its peer ID. So if I go to IPFS config, so and then I just need to find the peer ID and take a note of it. So here it is. So I'm going to just paste it here. OK. So now we're ready to go with daemon. So I'm just starting Kubo node. Cool. So last but not least, we need to set up the index provider, the sidecar that is going to translate between the Kubo node and the indexer. So I also have it installed already, but you can just copy and paste this command and install it. Then I'm going to initialize the default config. So done. And then I need to edit the configuration file and paste the configuration, this block of config into it. So what it effectively does, it says that I would like to be listening for the reframe protocol on the port number 50,617, and it has a few configuration bits, so you can learn more about them on the index provider in the index provider GitHub repo. It also defines what provider we're expecting to receive the reframe calls from. That's why we captured the IPFS node PID and defines the multi-addresses where the IPFS node is available at. So I'm going to go to the index provider. So I'm going to delete the default configuration and go and paste the configuration block. Oops. Copy it again. Okay, so the only thing I need to change here is the Kubernetes peer ID. So I'm going to delete it and paste the one from the file. Yes. Okay. So the final bit, I need to just start the daemon for the index provider. Yeah, so it's basically started. Okay. Now we've got all the pieces running, so I can open the web UI for my locally running IPFS node, and I can add a file. So I think that's from my previous run. Let me refresh it. Okay, cool. So then we're going to input the file, so just tiny file. So once it has imported, so you see that the two processes at the bottom is index provider, at the top is indexer. They started chatting. So now we can try to look up the file. So we can look it up in two ways. We can, like, first way is we can look it up directly in the indexer. So I'm copying this command, paste, and I need to get a node take a note of the seed. So just copy it. So basically, when I run it, so it shows that this file is available at what providers is available at, what the multi-addresses are, and etc. And if you use a service like seed.contact, you could basically really quickly find where each seed is available, and could then just use these multi-addresses to reach that file. So reach the seed, content with the seed. And the other way to look up content, we can do it through Kubernetes. So I just copied that command, and I'm going to be using the same seed. So what it does under the hood, it would send query to the locally running indexer, and the indexer would return that seed as the that's basically where it's available at. That's the ID provider that we captured here. Okay, that's basically it. Thanks a lot for listening, and as you see, like it's hopefully easy to set up to index your IPFS node. So thank you.